Alright, time for the videos for the algebraic proofs assignment. So in each of these you have an equation to solve for the variable that's given, and then for each step you need to list out what's the property that lets you do that particular step. So if we start here, I'm going to start by just combining those, and that's going to fall under the simplify property because it doesn't involve combining things with variables. And so that's just going to be simplified. And then here I'm going to add 3 to both sides because I'm trying to get my x by itself. So now I got 6x equals -6. So the property that lets me add something to both sides is the addition property of equality. And then the part that lets me get to the next step is simplify again. And I now need to divide by the 6 on both sides. That'd be the division property of equality. And then here at the end, I'm going to get x equals -1, which is simplify as well. So on 2, I'm going to follow a similar pattern here. These can combine, and we're going to say it's combined like terms because it's variables. -5n and 6n are going to make just n. And then on the right side, you're just going to have -3. And so really, there's only one step in this one, which is combining like terms. And then realize that you actually have your answer. On 3, it's a little bit more complicated. We got this parentheses stuff here. Remember, don't try to combine those. First, you have to get rid of the parentheses before you can combine anything. And what helps us get rid of those parentheses is the distributive property. 4 times 6 is 24x. Oh, 4 times 6x is 24x. And 4 times 6 again is going to be 24. Right, so we got 104. So that's going to be the distributive property. And now I'm going to combine like terms here, get my x's together to get 20x plus 20, whoops, plus 24 equals 104. So that's combine like terms. I'm now going to subtract 24 from both sides in order to get my variable closer to being by itself. So now we're at 24x equals 104 minus 24. It's going to give me 80. So what lets me subtract is the subtraction property of equality. And what lets me get to the next step is just simplifying. And then now I just need to divide both sides by 20 to get x equals 4. So what lets me divide both sides is the division property of equality. And then the last step would be to simplify. And if you move over to 4, we're going to start out with distribution again. I'm going to just list it out as distribute, right little pen thing. Distribute that -8 through. Left side you're going to get -232, just the same. -8 times 1 is -8. And -8 times -4x is going to be positive 32x. And now I'm going to add 8 to both sides to get my right side less cluttered. And what lets me do that is the addition property of equality. And to get my, let's see, -232, add 8 is going to be -224. On the right side, I'm looking at positive 32x. And what lets me get to the next part is just to simplify. To get to that step, I need to now divide by the 32 to get my x by itself. If you don't happen to know, negative 224 divided by 32 is negative 7. So what lets me divide both sides by 32 is the division property of equality, the POE. And then what lets me get to the last step is just to simplify. When you get to 5, you need to distribute again to get you started. So distributive property, and distribute that negative 6 through. The negative 102 on the left is going to stay there. Negative 6 times 2v is negative 12v. And negative 6 times positive 1 is going to be negative 6. And now I'm going to add 6 to get my v closer to being all by itself. If you add 6 to both sides, you're using the addition property of equality. And negative 102 plus 6 is going to give you a whopping negative 96. On the right side, we're looking at negative 12v. Well, that's when you get to the next step, is just to simplify. And now we need to divide by negative 12 to get our v by itself. So divide both sides by negative 12. What lets me divide both sides is the division property of equality. And that, when we simplify, which is our last step, it's the last property, negative 96 divided by negative 12 is going to give us a positive 8. And that's going to be our answer for 5. Let's move on to 6 here. This 3 needs to get distributed, and that'll be our first step. So that's going to be the distributive property. 3 times 3 is 9. 3 times negative 7a is going to be negative 21a. And you still got subtract 5a, and that equals negative 121. I'm going to combine my like terms here. So 9. Negative 21a minus 5a is negative 26a. Right side, we're going to still have just negative 121. That property is combine like terms. That should be an M. I know it's hideous. And now I'm going to get rid of this 9 in hopes to get closer to my a there. What lets me subtract both sides by 9 is the subtraction property of equality. And to get to my next step, I'm going to have to simplify. And so this will be simplified. Negative 121 minus 9 is negative 130. If you divide by negative 26, divide by negative 26, well, if you divide both sides by a number is the division property of equality. And if you take that whopping negative 130 and you divide by 26, you're going to get 5. And the last step is just to simplify. Man, my writing is getting more and more worse throughout this solutions. Alright, moving on to 7. We have a bunch of stuff on the right side, but really we're going to just start distributing like crazy to help us simplify things down. And we're going to do it all in one step, and it's just the distribute property. Left side is still going to be negative 40. Right side, though, negative 4 times negative 8p is going to be positive 32p. Negative 4 times negative 2 is going to be positive 8. Negative 2 times 1 is going to be negative 2. Negative 2 times negative 7p is going to be positive 14p. I'm now just going to combine like terms, which is going to be a property. Combine like terms. I'm going to combine the p's, so 32p and 14p are going to combine to give me 46p. And And so I guess if I'm really separating out my properties, it'd be like this. And then combining the 8 subtract 2, which I would call combining like terms, but really it's simplifying, because some people really like to distinguish between that. Now we're at this point, we're going to subtract 6 from both sides. And what lets us do that is the subtraction property of equality. The subpo. Negative 40 minus 6 is negative 46. And on the right side we have positive 46. So going from this to the next line is to simplify. We're not going to divide both sides, and that's going to be the division property of equality. I'm going to divide both sides by, not negative, but positive 46. Divided by positive 46. We're going to get P equals negative 1 for our answer there. And that's just simplifying there at the end. And that's going to be our first video.